You know what I do? I woke up there with a local one and did this. Might take that. And I realize you would have great, so you can even read what the sophomore class has. So if you want to start with the freshman class, you don't have to read that body paragraph in history on the first sentence. So you can read the freshman class, you can do sophomore, and you can do the, well, actually you do sophomore and junior, and you can do senior year. And senior class is pretty good right now, but they're not that a lot. So you guys can split up. But I'll walk up there with you and I'll introduce you both, and then I'll stand there with you in case you have a question. All right? All right, so it'll be 9, 10, 11, 12, and split the, all right, comfortable with that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Should we do the national?
Yeah, you can read that too. Coming out of South Charlotte, the Blue Buckets and Scare Me, it's two events on the night. Whoever said that. And I put down the same class that I put in my movie. That's also what? Yeah, don't, pass out. I don't know if we do it. I know, right?
Thank you for your help.
I never knew what fun it was. Yeah, but I do it. I do whatever I have to do.
Bring your own stuff. Bring your own ice.
Catch it, you're on camera, wait. Catch this next couple weeks, you don't camera.
Oh, boy. What angle? Really, Victor? Oh, was that? I just said. Yeah. I was up there. And I was that's pretty awesome.
Getting the time to figure out what is, sometimes I have to like keep it covered with my jacket. I'm like, "You're kidding?" I have so many like casual black belts you could have taken and like one black dress up. Oh, really?
How is he doing with
He's starting to, like, he doesn't have great goals. He's starting to lose it a little bit. Because now he's fearful like I'm going back in January.
Oh, really?
Well, I mean, the way everything's getting worse. I mean, they have a So I think that has a really
No. Okay, I fixed it.
all the parties. But they all, like, it's always good to eat.
Well, I think. Yeah. Which honestly, I was thinking, I mean, it's not so that or very strange protocols. You know, yes. Oh, so you're
John yesterday was in the car right now. Actually, we're gonna put them all in. Yes, I can hear you. Yes, I'm here.
I need a motion in a second to call the meeting for the Board of Education, November 17th, 2020, back to order.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. I need, is this report? Overall? Oh, no, it's the, okay, the pledge of allegiance? Yeah, you want to do something like that?
United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
If we have a motion of silence for all those who observe, who are now served. Thank you. Now, Jessica, would you please call the roll?
Yes, so we have Mrs. Panico.
Here.
We have Mrs. Augulus via Zoom.
Present.
Miss Kennedy. Mrs. Napolitano-Ferno.
Present.
And then we have Dr. Linda Adams.
Present.
Mr. Dean Middleman. Mr. Reza Kolahifar.
Present.
Miss Bridget Villarreal. Present. We have Miss Gail Santo down there. And then we also have Miss Patty Unz of our legal counsel and myself, the district clerk. Jesse.
Thank you, Jesse. We have some changes, but those are just separate votes. You have those, right?
Yeah, it's the person schedule 2 and then just item 13 on the consent agenda.
So schedule 2. What number?
Schedule 2.
1A, right? And then number 13 you're talking about?
Yeah.
Right, under where? 13? Yeah, I'm getting there. Hold on.
That's the.
I got it.
It's not on there because it was added today. It's good.
Oh. All right, so you're gonna put it in separate. Okay. All right, so we need so what do we have to do? I'm gonna do the minutes, okay. So I need a motion, a second, for the minutes of the Board of Education. Is this right, October 26th and 27th?
Yes.
Motion.
For October 26th, 2020 special meeting? Okay. And then I need a motion and all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. I need a motion and a second to accept the minutes of October 27th, 2020, the audit committee meeting and planning session.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay. Schedule 1. You want schedule 1? I need a motion and a second. Wait, to approve them, but let me just make sure I have nothing else. Schedule 1, I didn't have any problems with. I need a motion and a second to accept Schedule 1, resignations, terminations, leaves of absence.
Motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay, I need a motion and a second for Schedule 2. After we're, as amended, we are pulling, just the 1A?
Yeah.
It wasn't the other one too? No, that was just executive, okay. All right, pulling number 1A for a separate vote. So from, I need a motion and a second to approve the Schedule 2. Schedule 2. And from number 2, well, there's no 2, from 3A through, what's the list? 5D. Oh, wait, I want to also, oh crap, we were supposed to talk about that. I'm gonna pull 5B also for a separate vote. Yep.
Okay, yeah.
Yes,
Give me a second so I can.
yes, go look at 5B, please. We didn't talk about that in executive, we should have, and I didn't have my notes.
Yeah, it's 5D, but it's a grammatical error on our paper. It says D.
Maybe, oh yeah, it's D, and then we're going through E and F, I guess.
Yeah, I'm gonna show you what it is. This. It's this one.
Oh, the clock. We didn't even discuss the clock.
Yeah, but
Right.
this is the issue. I'll show you. I'll put it on it. Yeah. I'll show you what's on it.
We were supposed to discuss those.
The biggest one is right there.
All right, so a motion accept, and a second to accept 2, and, well, there's no 2, 3A through 5. No, it's more than that because,
Well, it's through 5C and then.
and through 5C, and then also, right, 5C, and then E and F. Okay,
Eileen, I just want to clarify, because it looks like there's a typo. It went from C to B.
yeah, C, that's D,
Are you pulling?
that's the one I'm pulling,
Are you pulling clubs?
yes,
Separate vote?
Can we just,
Okay.
can we just table close? We don't have to pull them.
yeah, I'd rather, that's what I wanna do, I wanna table it until we discuss them.
We didn't discuss that.
We didn't discuss that, right?
Yeah, I'll vote the table.
All right, so we're gonna table that one then, Jesse.
We can table it now and then bring it up.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay. So again, I need a motion and a second. I'm not repeating all that again. It's already on camera. As amended. Motion and a second to approve Schedule 2 as amended.
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I need a motion and a second for, Schedule 2, Item 1A.
We have to separate vote, right?
That's a separate vote.
Can I see that? Is that, I think I know what that is, right?
You're saying yes, one person saying no. That's the way I understand it.
You don't have to, I can
don't
just
know
vote.
which one it is. Hold on. I think let me see. I know, this is the one I think I was on the fence. Is this what it is? Yeah, well,
Yeah,
it's not the issue. I think the issue is that no, I think the issue is,
I need a motion and a second.
well, I wanted you to say something, Liz.
Okay,
Dr. Adams.
be careful what you say.
You have to put the motion on the table first before you discuss.
Okay,
I need a motion and a second to discuss item number 1A.
Motion.
Second,
okay. Yeah, no, I'm not, I'm just gonna answer. This is the issue I have. I am 100%, and just in general, that adding administration across the board when it helps students and it helps staff. But in the video this week, it did give the perception that we are moving towards a possible closure. Whether it is for a week or two, or for a few days, or for a length of time, depending what the governor decides, or the loan decides, or whatever the issues are. When we keep okaying just additional administration across the board, across district, I'm just concerned with taxpayers and trying to do my due diligence to not spend taxpayer money if we're virtual. So, I mean, that's my situation, just across the board. That goes across the board for all of them.
Okay, so even if we were virtual, there is still a need for a principal at a building. Whether it's to answer emails from parents, request of things that the parents need,
this
to
is
work with the staff.
inappropriate public.
Cool, this you can.
Sure,
Conversation.
this is what administrative staff does. Later today, I will discuss what we think may be coming and what we expect it to look like. And that expectation is that the teachers will be teaching, if we are in a yellow precautionary zone, that the teachers will be in building teaching from their classrooms. So having supervision of those buildings would be necessary to have a person in place. We don't ask for an interim for a principalship unless we are certain that the person may not be coming back for a period of time. The building has been muddling along. We've been asking other administrative staff to go and piecemeal it, but we're not sure exactly when the principal will be back. So we're looking for someone who can jump in, who knows the community, who understands ConnectWatt, and that is why we put this person on. He's been there a few days. He's done the job we've asked him to do. If we close deeply and nobody's in the buildings, then we can revisit this. But to have people in the building and not have administration to oversee it, supervise it, and work with faculty, staff, and students is not appropriate.
Well, here's my issue. If we're not open, if we're virtual, I don't want to be, I personally, my vote would not be to pay interim. Okay, so I don't really, to be honest with you right now, I don't know how to vote on this.
We can table it if you'd like.
Maybe,
No, you can't really do that either.
okay, so
Yeah.
then what are my options? That's what I'm saying, because this
You
is,
need someone in that building, just like you need two people in the chair.
I agree, except, I agree, except, we had a discussion, and Dr. Adams told me and Mylin that there was not an issue with them going and checking buildings out, or helping at the building. So I can't one week be told by administration that you can help at the building level, and then a week later be told, no, I want to bring somebody in and want to pay, a certain amount, per diem a day.
So I'm going to explain that because we explained it earlier. When we don't have a long-term note for anybody to be absent, we put short-termers in there. So when we had that discussion, we did not have a long-term absence on the books. At this point, we know that that's true, and we're not really sure what the return date is.
Yes,
So
but we had already gone out and asked somebody else. We had already said, okay, to put someone in there, and someone was asked.
and what I was answering is where how are we getting through at that period of time when we were out looking for someone? And I said, what we've been doing is our directors and our other APs have been, and our department chairs have been filling in piecemeal. And they've been doing good work, but they're not the leader of the building, and we do need a person in that building. Principals are actually one of the administrative staff that's mandated by New York State to have a principal in the building.
Here's the problem. You tell me to listen to administration. But then every time I listen to administration and I make a decision based off of what was told to me once,
It changed.
then I'm told that same, well, listen to me, the same discussion. Okay, the same discussion that you tell me, listen to administration. I'm told this all the time. Jackie, you're not an educator, listen to administration. Okay, so I do. And then when I do, and I vote with what I'm told, then I'm told a week later, this is where I have an issue. Then I'm told a week later, no. Now we need to spend the money. But in that same week, there's a video that goes out to the public. And yes, I wasn't at the Friday's executive, so I don't know what you guys all discussed. But I do know that I was unaware that any of this went out to the public, that any of this was going out to the public. And when it went out, and when it did go out, it went out in a way that it makes it appear that we are the perception we're closing. People are going wild because they think that's what we're doing. So now we're talking about possibly a rumor of virtual, but let's just add more people. Let's add more salaries. Let's add more people. Let's pay more money. There's not really a reasonable, it's not reasonable. The average person would not think that's reasonable.
I can see getting rid of APs that are there temporarily, but I can't see getting rid of a principal. You know, it's going to be a stressful, if God forbid, hopefully we don't go into the yellow and we stay open. Or if we do go into the yellow and we have to close, you need every teacher and every administrator to be dealing with the parents. Everyone is going to be upset.
How much did, I want to ask something.
wait,
How much
everyone-
did- wait, hold on.
No,
How
Jackie.
much did the principals, I want to hear this. How much did administrators call parents when we were out from March to July? Are we really going to go there? Because I'm one of the parents that's in these buildings, and I don't know about everybody else, but I don't remember getting phone calls every day. So let's be a realist.
It's the parents that call in, and I don't think you know all the parents that might be calling in.
I think there's a lot of
Okay.
people they be calling in too.
There's a vote on
A
the
lot of
table.
support staff.
There's a vote on the table.
Well, right now,
Lee's not gonna change Jackie's mind. Jackie's not gonna change Lee's mind.
Well, if you don't think that we need a principal at Cherokee,
There's a vote on the table.
I don't think we need.
Mylin, how do you vote for the item 1A?
what are you talking about?
We don't need an AP.
Mylin, how do you vote for item 1A?
I'm going right with that. Right.
Okay, Mylin votes yes. I vote no. Jackie, how do you vote?
I want it amended. I'm only gonna vote to do this, Linda, if you're telling me that when we are out, if we go virtual, we are not paying interims.
We're not going fully virtual where no one will be in the building.
No, we don't know that yet.
Well, right.
We are unaware of what's gonna come down from the governor.
No one's in the
So
building.
Jackie, you can abstain if you'd like.
I'm at the point where, that's
So you want to say that if we are fully virtual and there's no people in the building whatsoever, that the interim.
No, that's not what
No,
you
that's
said.
not what I'm saying, because if
That's not what she
custodians in the
said.
building, they don't, I'm sorry to say that they don't need a principal to,
Okay,
watch
so you
them.
want to amend the
They're
appointment
adults,
that
they know what they're doing.
if there's no students and teachers, no school day
No, that's not
personnel
what she said.
in the building, then we would not accept a per diem that this person's working.
I just don't want to keep adding salaries.
I
You
understand
guys
that.
can't keep sending me emails that say that we're not gonna get state aid, we're not gonna get this, we're not gonna get that. But hey, let's just keep on sending money out the front door. I'm sorry, I don't
Okay, think about it for a minute.
want to hurt children, I don't
What's
want to
your vote?
hurt parents, I want them to have somebody to go to. So
So,
that's why I'm okay with it in that regard.
so
She-
Jackie,
she's not
it's per
amending it that
diem.
way though, Jackie.
So because it's per diem, we can say to this person, we're closed, you're
No,
not
but I
working
want
today.
it on record. That's what I'm saying. We're doing this, I want it to say that on here. I want to amend it to say as per, if the school is not, if children are not in that school, if this is
Children is what she
virtual,
said, children.
if we
So-
are
so if
virtual,
teachers are there, we're not gonna have a principal there. Because right now, what we're doing and looking at, and I will talk about it later.
Well, if
in
you
more
only have
depth.
teachers there, then you can still have the directors and the administrators from the building right behind them to go over there and do what they were doing then. I mean, there's not gonna be problems there. I would vote for it that way too.
So who would be the contact person for parents? If the parents, are.
We have how many directors?
Mylin, wait a second, hold on.
How many directors
Mylin,
do we have
you
in
were
the
at the
building right behind
same,
them?
wait a second. You were at the same conversation I was at in front of Cherokee when we were told that the building did not need a leadership there. We were told that they could walk over. Were we not? I mean, I'm just going,
Yes, Jackie, I was there for that conversation and I did not agree. I mean, I know what Linda said, but I had to scratch my head. I did not agree with it. I believe every building should have oversight and a contact for parents to call email if they have concerns.
and I agree with you. I actually agree with you on that 100%. And don't you remember, I actually said that. I said, if the one person said no, then we need to get somebody else. And I was told again, a second time, no, Jackie, we don't need anybody because,
That's not the question. The question I was asking is, what have you guys been doing? And this is what we were doing. And if we needed to get over there, we got over there. And that we had directors in place, between Mr. Middleman and Mr. Kolahifar. We had substitutes rotating through, because you actually said to me, what have you been doing in the absence?
that's what I said, yeah.
And that's what.
Because I'm concerned with the parents having a contact person.
I agree with you.
100%, and I'm concerned with children being able to have somebody else in the building to go to, or if there's discipline or an issue or anything that requires leadership in the building, that they're there. But when I'm told, this is why I'm saying that when I'm told something, you guys have to realize that, yes, I'm learning, but you can't teach me one way and tell me one thing and then go the next week a different way. And in that same week, you guys are making the perception that there's the ability and the possibility that we may close. If that is true, why would we be paying an interim at any of these buildings? And it's almost like a gift of taxpayer money.
So we don't need APs at the high school then either, right?
Listen, I want to tell you something.
Just to,
If we close this next time, I just want you to hear it from me first. I won't be the one fighting for that kind of stuff. There's nothing we can do if the state doesn't give us money. Things will have to be cut. I was told that by administration themselves.
Yep.
What are you gonna do? You can't keep telling me one thing and then making it like it was my decision. That's not true. Now, I would be for this, but I'm only for this if it's written up that way. If it's not written up that way, then I'm gonna abstain.
So then
And
we
it's
can
not
either,
gonna go through.
then it doesn't go through. Then there's two.
So no, so you gotta tell me what you guys wanna do. That's what I'm telling you. There's my option. That's it.
So are you asking to modify $600 per diem when students are in the building?
When we have a school day, if there are teachers in the building, I'd be okay with that too.
Okay.
But what I'm not okay with is if you're telling me anyone. Because
No, that's not
say
what I
we're
said.
closed, no, I'm just saying, say we're closed and you have custodians in the building, they know what they're doing. They don't need any principal to tell them at that time, if the building's closed, how to do what they gotta do.
Okay, so I think we're on the same page, Jackie, because originally I said when either teachers or students are in the building.
Teachers or students. So
I'm fine with that. I'm fine with that, but I'm also not fine with this, with this being like a long-term, year-long thing. If this, we have to put an end date on this.
You can't put an end date on it because we don't know when that person's returning. So when that person returns, this
Well, this has an expiration of next year. I'm not okay with that.
it has an expiration of the end of the school year, because at any day when this person who's replacing this person returns, this position ends that same day. That's what leave replacements, that's what interims do. The minute that the person comes back, that interim is no longer there. That's the way that posting works. That's the way a leave replacement works. That way as a substitute works. This person is in for that person. And when that person returns, that job goes away.
There's a vote on the table. You need to decide whether you want to table it. Lee told you what to do, so you should do that. You just said say yes.
I said, I'm saying yes. I said, I'm saying yes.
Okay, you said yes. Mylin said yes.
I'm not okay.
I
with-
said
I'm not
no.
okay with putting it till next year, so that's.
I
what
said
it-
no.
If we're not gonna, no,
You can ask to table it, Jackie, and we can make it, we can do that.
Until the day Mr. So-and-so comes back.
no, how
You
about we
can't say their
say,
names,
how about we say until December 30th or whatever,
and we'll revisit.
2020, and we can revisit it. Because I don't wanna say,
There's only one more meeting
I
between
don't
now
know
and
why
then.
you're explaining this. We've done this in the past. When one person goes out on sick, there's an interim that covers. When that person comes back, the interim no longer.
Mylin, we're doing this because the administration told us one thing and then changed their minds 2 weeks later and told us another thing. And now we're confused and now
And-
it's a
no,
cluster mess.
and now it's, and it's in the same week that you're making videos and giving the perception to the public that that there's a possibility that we could close. And let's be real, Mylin, this was done without me even knowing.
And
I heard from all of
everybody's
you
talking
about the
about
video. I
Killing
didn't,
money and that we gotta cut teachers and we gotta cut programs for children. And then you wanna spend more money doing things that when we're gonna be closed. So that's why this is being done.
like I said, I'm always for
It's like
doing if it
being
means it
led
helps
astray.
children. But I'm not okay with doing if you're saying that potentially by next week, we could be virtual or remote, or just for a week, or just for 2 weeks, or just for a few days, or like,
Not at all.
or till February.
Or not at all.
Then I have an issue with this. That's what I'm telling you. So if it's not gonna stay, if it's gonna stay like this,
Jackie,
And I'm
the
gonna
option that
abstain.
you have is you can table it.
We
You can ask to
amended this.
table it.
I asked to modify it. If
We-
they don't
we
wanna modify
modified
it, then
it
I'm gonna
for-
abstain.
We modified it for $600 per diem when teachers or students are in the building. That's what we modified it for.
Okay, well, I wanna modify end date. The expiration date.
Okay, then modify, make it December 31st, and we can revisit it. How's that?
I'm okay with
That
that.
gives me more time. Okay, so then, Jackie, how do you vote?
As long as it's December 31st,
And we can revisit it if need be.
2020, then I'm a yes. Linda, is that what we're doing?
That's what I have written down right now.
Is that
So
what you
you need to
wrote down, Jess?
revote because you've just changed it.
So the vote is, Mylin, you're a yes. Correct?
Yes.
Lee,
Yes.
Jackie,
Yes, as long as
motion
December
passes
31st.
as amended. Next. Okay, the next thing that we have on here is I need a motion and a second to approve financial matters. Hold on, where's my financial matters? Financial matters, we're doing them all as one, right? Yep, okay. I need a motion and a second to approve financial matters.
Motion.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
I just have a question. I
Sure.
asked Bridget for some questions. Were they posted to board docs?
I think I got the answers in writing tonight, Mylin. And Jesse said they are posted in board docs.
Okay, so I believe the last question that I have, I'm not sure if it was answered. It says, I think if the board can be supplied information with, salaries versus capital. Human capital. Or actually, no, I'm sorry, salaries versus tangible, I'm sorry.
Yes, so my update to the board last Friday was that the module in the financial software in Envision is
Alrighty.
called the Human Resources module. That information is uploaded by the Human Resources Department and should be done by the end of November. Once we have that information, we can go forth and provide the Board of Education with the information and truly begin the 21-22 budget process.
And before you go, you did answer the question about the $11,855 that was allocated to the Board of Ed travel expenses when the Board of Ed did not do any traveling. But the way you wrote it is, can you put it in layman's terms, please? For everyone?
Yes. Right now?
Yeah. Yeah, for the public. I know what you mean, but somebody sees that and it looks like the Board of Ed traveled during 2020 for $11,855 when the Board of Ed did no traveling whatsoever, zero. But it's on our budget line.
So the expense is not for traveling. That is because the governor at the very last minute changed the annual school budget vote and election to absentee ballot, which meant that we went from roughly 2,000 voters. Generally, that's what it's been historically for the last couple of years about that, to having to mail out 30,000 ballots and 3 different envelopes with a stamped return envelope for you to fill out your ballot and mail it back to us. So we had to have postage available should 30,000 people fill it out and
Why didn't
return
we
it.
put that on the postage line?
So there are also no Board of Education meetings in between for Jesse to be able to put up a budget transfer with us. So Jesse put up the funds that were available to be able to create a purchase order and send it out to the company because it was all 125 school districts in both Nassau and Suffolk dealing with the same vendor to go ahead and print the ballots and mail them out.
So you're gonna change that? At the end, you're gonna transfer the money properly?
So the 2019-20 year is already done, so there is no changing anything around for that. But if we do look at another absentee vote this year, we will certainly make sure that the funds are in the appropriate place.
Yeah, because somebody who doesn't watch the video will think that that was Board of Ed expenses. And there are a lot of people that don't. No, but there are people who look at the budget but don't listen to this. So that's the issue.
I have a big issue with that. All right, so there's a motion on the table, a motion and a second for financial matters approval. Is it all in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay, what's next? Consent agenda? 2 through 13? Are we doing, there's a separate, 2 through 12, right? Right. And 13 is the, right. All right, so, I need a motion and a second to discuss the items on the consent agenda. A motion and a second, and then discussion.
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
This is for items 2 through 12. We are pulling 13 for a separate vote. Anyone have anything to discuss on items 2 through 12?
Hold on a second. I'm trying to find where we are on that. It's the consent agenda on H.
Consent agenda is right, yeah, it's right here. It starts here, Jackie.
What I'm saying is, are you looking at H? All right, so we just passed, okay, wait, so we just passed the school lunch?
Yeah.
Did you tell everybody about that? Because I know that, I found out that it's going all the way, the free lunch is gonna be until the end of June?
We get
Yes.
reimbursed from the state from that, though.
Yes,
Yeah,
we
the
do.
grant, but what I'm
Right.
saying is, I wanted the public to hear it,
Oh, okay.
because I don't think they really knew.
Yes. So I think it's posted pretty much on every school building website. It's posted on the website as well, but we can certainly make it more apparent that all meals are free through the end of the school year.
And I spoke to the lady, Miss Miller, she's doing a fabulous job there. She had told me, just so that the public knows, I wanted to let them know more, that if, in the event that you have problems, because I know I as a parent have had problems on the website for a while, if you have any issues or any special needs, to reach out to her, because she'd be willing to help with anything. There are some students that if they need a calendar, a monthly calendar, and they can't get on or don't have devices or don't have computer access, you can pick your meals and they'll take care of it. So these are things that we need to let the public know, so that people who are having any issues, or maybe just not tech savvy, or just don't have tech ability, they don't have any in their home, maybe they can get that and have that as an option, or to at least let them know, definitely reach out to her. She was of great help to me.
All right. Anybody else have any questions or comments on the consent agenda, items 1 through 12? I do, actually. The emergency Chromebook purchase. And then Jackie, you can also talk about the Chromebooks that you want to talk about before.
Yeah.
The emergency Chromebook purchase, Dean, I believe this is you. Is that price higher or lower than the ones that we've already ordered that are on purchase order? And by how much? What is the price per Chromebook for each of these?
So the Chromebooks that we have on order, the per unit cost was $271.25.
That's for the emergency ones or these?
The ones that are on order.
Okay, that's the August one, thank you.
The current ones that we ordered for the emergency one is, looks like it's $265 per Chromebook.
Right, so we're actually getting them a little bit cheaper then, is what you're telling me?
Yes.
Okay, so how many do we have on the purchase order from August? What's the quantity?
2,916.
And we can only get 350 at this price?
Yes, this was a vendor had reached out to Bridget to say that they had I guess, a school district who had decided not to purchase them.
Okay. So 2,916 is, that will be enough for every single child in our school?
No.
How many more do we need? What's the total
I would
number
have
that
to
we
do
need for
that.
every?
No, I don't have that number with me. I'd have to give that to you.
Okay, I do want to know that number. And then I want to know when we're going to order so that every child has a Chromebook.
So again, we're still waiting for New York State to approve our Smart Schools application. At this time, it has not been approved. We did move forward with a purchase order for half of the Chromebooks, that order, which we did in anticipation of the approval. But as of now, we still do not have New York State approval for the Smart Schools funding.
Okay.
Okay, now, this is what I had brought up, and I sent you guys an email, and I brought up to the board and the super. We have the carts in each of the schools. We have iPad access. We have laptops on carts. We go virtual. What is the availability of getting those, and how fast is the turnover to get those through tech to use those? I mean, is there a way for us to go to the elementaries, get these off the carts, go get the iPad, get the laptops from labs, whatever we need to make sure that kids have, no child should be using a cell phone. And I'm hearing that there are still children using cell phones. I use my cell phone and you guys get emails and you see how bad they are. It mixes up words, it's grammatical errors left and right. iPhones change words for you. It's imperative that we make sure that kids that do not have access to technology in their homes, we get them that technology. And I don't mean like we did in March where one family has 4 kids and they get one iPad. We need for each child that's in need. Whatever that is, that's what we need to do. And however we have to do it, if we have to take them out of classrooms, we got to do what we got to do, especially if there are not children in classrooms or in schools.
If I could make a comment on that, I think the children that are receiving free and reduced lunch should be on the top of the list. Make sure that they have the adequate, technology and computers necessary for them to have a proper education. And the other thing is too, I just wish that, when I brought this up about 3 years ago, that we did have the Chromebooks. Unfortunately, I was the lone wolf on the board who wanted the Chromebooks. I thought there was a need for it then, and obviously there's more of a need for it now. So I'm just a little dismayed how long it's taking to get these Chromebooks. I wish we would have had it 3 years ago and been ahead of the curve.
So, yeah, it is frustrating. It's frustrating for me. It's frustrating for our parents, for our students, for our educators. We are working through those that are in need. We gave out this past week 200 Chromebooks to families and students. We have another 350 that we are processing right now, this evening through the board, that we will be distributing out to our families as well. We do have iPad carts at the elementary schools. Those are used for our tier 2 interventions right now. And they're a necessity to keep in the buildings because we did have a reduction in our reading staff as well as our math specialists. And those are the people who provide the additional support for students in need. Right now, we are using a computer-based application. It's an adaptive application to support those students. and that's why those devices are needed within the buildings. If we do close, we currently have a plan with our self-contained students at the elementary school to be giving the iPads that they have. They'll be able to bring those home, and we will be able to, if Chromebooks don't come in and we do happen to have to close, we do have a plan in place to be able to redistribute those iPads to students in need.
Dina, can I ask you also, don't we have every content area has laptop carts though?
Those were Chromebook carts, and those were distributed to our students. We have over close to 2,100, well, I shouldn't say that, about 2,000 Chromebooks that are currently in the hands of students, and those were ones that we had departmental carts that were distributed in the spring, as well as carts that were at the middle schools.
Perfect, thank you.
So, any more discussion?
On the consent agenda, items 1 through 12? 2 through 12, thank you, Lee. I need a motion and a second for items 2 through 12. Now the motion's on the table, I need all in favor for items 2 through 12? Aye.
Aye.
Item, separate vote for consent agenda item 13. There's a separate vote for that one. I need a motion and a second and then to discuss. Well, yeah, we can't even discuss that one. Okay, so I need a motion and a second. And then all in favor.
Aye.
No, I need a motion and a second first. We didn't do that one yet.
Motion.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
No?
Aye.
Okay, motion passes. Next is, that was the consent agenda. There's no items removed, we did that. Next is, discussion, right?
Reports.
Reports.
So I'm going to ask Mr. Moran and any members of his team that want to come up. And I know that Mr. Moran was thinking about bringing some of our students from high school to just discuss how the year's going.
Throw it into my class.
All right, thank you, Dr. Adams. I'm here to talk about some of the events for the students in the high school. I have with me Charlotte D. Simone, 10th grade, and Carmela Eads, 12th grade. They're going to talk about what the 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th grade have planned. They'll also talk about student government, and one of the honor societies, Business Honor Society, told us some of the events that they're going to be having. You won't hear the traditional senior trips, junior cruises, proms at this point, fingers crossed. I mean, the senior trip obviously is not going to happen, but hopefully by the spring, these other events, traditional events, will happen. So you're going to hear some things that aren't a little bit out of the ordinary, but the kids came together with the advisors for the classes and spoke about different things they're going to try to do. After the girls go through the list, if you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them. Tomorrow, we are having a senior brunch for the senior class. Half the class will be there tomorrow. The other half of class will be there on Thursday. We'll be in the cafeteria. They'll be sitting at the desk, masks, shields. We also rented a tent, so if there's any overflow, the kids can go outside. There'll be a DJ. We got breakfast sandwiches from Locust Avenue Deli, so that'll be happening tomorrow and Thursday. That's the event we have coming up, and then they'll talk about some other events. So, whoever wants to speak first?
So for the freshman class, there's a scavenger hunt, and it's like find a student who, find a teacher who. It's like giving them opportunity to meet other people in the limited environment that they're in this year, unfortunately. They also have a t-shirt design going on, a car wash, and a point contest, which goes on like for the whole year. They earn points by going to their class meetings, being involved with school activities. For the senior class, there's a senior brunch, as Mr. Moran mentioned, tomorrow and Thursday, a drive-in holiday movie, and an Applebee's luncheon that's going to be taking place in January if we are able to. For student government, Spirit Week and Boo Buckets have taken place already. For Spirit Week, there was 2 weeks of like theme days that we did, like a Tacky Tourist Day,
the original things we always do. And then for Boo Buckets, we replaced an event that we normally do. We assembled and distributed buckets and signs ordered by the community to people's houses when they placed an order. And currently we're doing Catch the Turkey, which is an event where we've made turkeys with Mr. Moran's face on it and hid 2 around the school. 2 students found them and they received like candy. And then we're planning to do a Thanksgiving food drive, which is taking place currently as well, where students drop off food in front of the auditorium before first period, and we donate it to the food bank. We also plan to do a holiday door decorating with both students and teachers to decorate a door, and doors will be judged for the most creative and receive bragging rights. Holiday Spirit Week will also be taking place where students and staff can participate in theme days leading up to our winter break. This will only be 1 week compared to the Spirit Week's 2 weeks. For National Business Honor Society, that took place on Friday, November 13th. Members of the Honor Society participated in a business competition with Adelphi University. They met with business faculty and marketing professionals, and students learned essential and relevant marketing components. And they also worked in teamwork to develop a marketing plan based on a sample case assignment that will be presented to that was presented to an esteemed panel of judges that day. I also just want to add that for Rho Kappa, we did a survey, like a mock election. It was discontinued from what I understand because of 2 simple, I guess, easy fixes that could have been done or problems with it. And I was just wondering if we could continue it in a way that would appease the students and also be appropriate to continue, because I know a lot of students took this opportunity to experiment with politics and vote in a safe way at the high school that we are able to provide for them. And I was just wondering if we could possibly continue this or give out the data that we collected from the survey that we have already.
It would have to be a board discussion.
Okay.
We'd have to talk about that.
Okay. Thank you.
So to go off of what Carmela said, the Boo Buckets, which we've already done, was financially successful because it was a fundraiser, so that is very good. And also we are doing the turkey with Mr. Moran's head on it. 2 students have already found it. So we are trying to engage the students as many ways as we can. So the sophomore class, and let me preface that some of these activities are going to be for COVID and not for COVID. Everything, we're married to nothing. So one idea that we have is an obstacle course. We would have to do that outside, maybe have limited times because obviously for social distancing reasons. A trivia night, this could be done virtually or in person. A paint night with B-Mart, this could be virtual or in person. Volunteering for local organizations, because as part of our honor societies, we still do need volunteer hours. Fundraising, we can do that through restaurant flyers, car washes, morning bake sales, and we are even considering doing soldier care packages. We can do virtual tutoring for the middle school and elementary school. We could, going back to the paint night, we could do wood and palette painting. Hopefully, if things wrap up, pandemic-wise, we can do some sort of barbecue, or we could do a socially distanced barbecue, just like the senior brunch. Adopt a grandparent, where we each adopt a nursing home resident and become pen pals with them. That is something that can be done in person or virtually. Awareness month, where each month we pick a topic and we bring awareness to it. It could be some sort of medical illness or social awareness month. And finally, a kickball tournament. Obviously, that would have to be done outside when the weather gets warmer. The junior class has a scavenger hunt planned. It would be socially distanced and only for the junior class. They would break students into groups to minimize contact and touching of surfaces and objects. And working on what aspects of grounds they can use, specific objects can be found as well as people. Fundraising. They would like to do fundraising after school, especially when sports seasons begin. They would like to continue selling things at games if crowds are allowed at games. They would like to pre-wrap and bag food and drinks in order to make a profit. And this will not interfere with school hours and items sold. These items are not sold during the school day. Did you do all of the student government stuff?
No, I did the first one.
Okay.
In lieu of our usual winter wonderland, we are thinking of doing a holiday drive-through where we would be replacing our floats with some lights and they can drive through. It could include different honor society and clubs they can participate. We would have some sort of path designed in the back of the high school. Displays could be judged and community members would be invited for a one-day drive-through event. Going into February, we have Valentine's flowers. Students and staff can purchase flowers to be delivered on the 11th or 12th to others in the school. Lucky Leprechaun, this is just a variation on the turkey idea for Mr. Moran. We would just put his head on a leprechaun and hide it around the school. Spring egg hunt. This is, of course, if we have the means to do this by spring. We could do some sort of variation on our usual community outdoor egg hunt. Of course, details are to follow. Talent from the T-Birds concert from the couch. That was a great success last year. We had a lot of participation. It's virtual, so we can do it if we are in school or if we are completely virtual. And it would be the same format. Students really enjoyed it. We had a lot of interaction with the community with it, and we think it would be a great idea to reprise. And the final thing is, again, we have no idea if we'll be able to do this, a senior barbecue, a parade, and a yearbook. And that is, of course, based on the restrictions. So to end it off, I thought I would give a little bit of a general description of the student morale. It is low. Student participation hasn't been great this year. We all would love all clubs to be approved virtually. We know that there are limitations to that, but the students really need something to be engaged. It's very hard, especially for our fully virtual students, to be learning through a computer screen. And hopefully these activities will bring up morale, but we really do need something to just bring the community back together because it's been tolling on all of us. So thank you. And if anyone has any questions.
Thank you.
I can't wait. If you guys are doing Winter Wonderland, I'll be there. I love that.
Great.
Absolutely love those ideas. Great job, girls.
Good job, yes, thank you.
Just two quick things. The holiday drive-through, some kids didn't get to decorate their floats like traditional at the, the homecoming parade. So each group, each class will decorate one section of the drive-through, so then everybody will vote. So that is something that we're looking at, I think, December 11th right now, tentatively scheduled for that. And the drive-in movie, we'd like to show a holiday movie. I've never been to a drive-through movie, so I don't know if you can do them in the winter, if you can't leave your car running, but that's what we were talking about, showing like Elf or something, and that would also be for the community. So those are the two that we're hoping to have, before the holiday break, and on top of the senior brunch.
I see Miss Goodwin is here. I want to put her on the spot. You know what's my favorite event? Can you come up here and tell us a little bit about what's going to happen with freshman awareness this year?
Oh, I love that. I went last year.
I've been going there since my first was in 9th grade.
Good evening. So, nice job, by the way, ladies.
Great job.
A couple of weeks ago, Dr. Adams and I exchanged emails regarding freshman awareness. We are carefully planning the event. We are also waiting for club approval. So, along with these ladies, I ask that you consider that strongly. Moving forward, social distancing guidelines will really determine the shape that the event takes. Mr. Moran and I have had several conversations. I know that he's on board to do whatever he can to keep the kids socially connected to the building. So however you see fit as a board and Dr. Adams sees fit, I am sure that the Civic will move forward once it is approved. Does that answer your questions?
Yes.
Thank you, ma'am.
We want an invite.
Always.
Always. I don't want to sleep over though this time.
You don't have a choice if it opens up.
I know. I know. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Great job.
I think we could maybe go into executive session afterwards.
I'd rather wait till Mark and Mylene are here with us too.
They want to know if they can continue their mock trial. We have to talk about it, right?
Is that the mock trial that I didn't, I'm not for that.
Yeah, I'm not comfortable making that decision tonight without discussion.
Can I say something?
I wouldn't at this
No, I
point.
don't care.
Are there any more reports though?
Yes, there's one more.
Okay.
I didn't know that's what it was about. Nobody.
Yeah.
Elaborate.
That has to be discussed. That can't just be
I
a
understand.
quick thing and
What
then
I'm
that's
saying
it.
is,
Right, I
any-
understand you.
anything
Jackie, be-
that can cause turmoil or can make other people feel uncomfortable, I think we should try to avoid during this very challenging time. Yeah, I don't need to go into executive.
yeah, we don't need to, right, okay.
I'm not for it. It's not to hurt children, it's to help the children who
What's-
are uncomfortable.
What's the next report?
It's mine.
Okay,
So I sent an email out to the community earlier today because we were hearing some rumors that came off of, and Mrs. Napolitano-Ferno has been saying it all night long. I felt it was really important that the Connecticut community be able to be prepared in case we do go into a yellow precautionary zone. So last Friday, not only did I send an email, but I also did about 350 takes to try to get a video message out to the community, just to say where we were and how things were changing. So you're all aware of the microcluster initiative that the governor has put in place in order to try to keep the spread of COVID. That's a community-based spread, and try to eradicate it in the community rather than closing down in general. That has occurred across the state. And last week, we had an opportunity, the Suffolk County Superintendents had an opportunity to be in a meeting where it was discussed, and I realized after the discussion that some of our numbers and some of the metrics were heading in that direction. There are 5 metrics that need to be met in order for the governor to put an area into a shutdown or a modified shutdown. There are 3 different zones. There's a yellow precautionary zone, an orange warning zone, and a red zone. And each one of them has different target data, most of which is not accessible to the general population. The one piece of target data that is acceptable to the general population is what I've described to the community. It's that the geographic area has a 7-day rolling average of positivity above 2.5 for 10 days. That's to take an area and move it into the yellow precautionary zone. Orange, moving into the orange warning zone, is a 7-day rolling average positivity above 3% for 10 days. And a red zone is a geographic area that has a 7-day rolling average positivity above 4% for 10 days. As I say this out loud, it could be it would not surprise me if Governor Cuomo was changing these as we speak, but that's what sits right now. There are 5 metrics to go into the yellow precautionary zone. The 7-day rolling average of positivity above 2.5 for 10 days, and that the geographic area has 10 or more new cases per 100,000 residents on its 7-day average. That number is not available to the general public. And the geographic area has a minimum of 5 new cases per day on 7-day average for geographic areas with 10,000 or more. That is not available to the public. And the increase in positive cases or positivity reflect community spread that cannot be mostly explained by a cluster in a single institution, such as a nursing home or a household transmission. So if you've read any of the data, Suffolk County is actually way ahead in contact tracing to be able to put this together, but they're only at 50% certainty of where anyone is getting their cases from. But that data is also unavailable to the public. The 5th metric is that the State Department of Health, in consultation with the local Department of Health, finds that based on the above listed metrics and other epidemiological factors, such as an upward trend in total and daily hospital admissions, that this zone designation will be appropriate. We had an opportunity to have Dr. Piggott, who is the head of the Suffolk County Department of Health Services, and he said he is seeing the beginning of a second surge from November 6th on, that Suffolk County is seeing over 300 cases positive per day. And this week, he's seen a surge in hospitalizations with 80 in hospitals that receive 911 calls and over 19 in ICU, and that was 3 days ago. The daily rate, which is a metric that is available to the public since November 10th, the daily rate, and I'm just going to do November 10th through the 16th because that's all that's available right now, Daly was 3.4, 2.9, 3.6, 3.7, 2.9, 3.7, and 3.4 for Suffolk County. That yielded a 7-day rolling average on the same range of dates of 2.7, 2.9, 3.2, 3.4, 3.4, 3.4, 3.4. So we are heading, unfortunately, in the wrong direction. I do not want anyone to be surprised if we are going to move into the yellow zone. I wanted to let people be prepared. However, we are not in the yellow zone. So I got quite a few emails from parents today that kids came home and said, Mom, today's my last day in school. We're going to be virtual as of Friday. The earliest that we could be put in the precautionary zone would be Friday the 19th. Thursday the 19th. And we could be virtual on 11/20. But I'm not Governor Cuomo, so I don't get to make that determination. And as I said, the other 4 metrics are not for public consumption. So I'm not sure when or if that will happen, if it ever does happen. But I just wanted to connect what families to be prepared in case we were to go into the yellow precautionary zone. Because even though you can stay open, and this packet is something that is on the New York State website, in the yellow precautionary zone, and remember, it's not just schools that we're dealing with, so houses of worship are only allowed to have 50% capacity. Mass gatherings are maxed out at 25 people, both indoors and outdoors. All businesses remain open. Dining is indoor and outdoor dining, 4-person, maximum per table, and schools are permitted to be open. Originally, if we mandatorily tested 20% weekly of students, teachers, and staff. However, after I sent that out to the community, the very next day, the rules changed. And the rules changed to say that schools, if they want to stay in person, need to test 20% of faculty, staff, and students over the 2-week period immediately following the announcement of a yellow zone designation. If the results of the testing reveal that the positivity rate among the 20% of those tested is lower than the yellow zone's current 7-day positivity rate, testing at that school will no longer be required to continue. A positivity rate in a school that is lower than the yellow zone is sufficient demonstration that in-person instruction is not a significant driver of local viral spread. So this is the information that we receive, and all that does is ask more questions. So are you allowed to be open while you're doing the 20% testing phase? If you don't have people who are volunteering to be part of the 20%, can you stay open hoping that 20% of the people are going to volunteer? Is it each and every school? So do I have to look at the population at idle hour and say 20% of the population at idle hour and then 20% in the high school? We don't know that answer. Is it 20% of each group? Must we test 20% of the students, 20% of the faculty, 20% of the staff? That's not answered either. Do we have to keep people out when they're waiting test results? If you have not been in a close contact or have been near someone who is testing positive, if it's just to remain open, do we need to keep people out while they're testing? What do we do with people like bus drivers who are in contact with multiple students across the day in multiple buildings? Are they part of that 20%? So the question, there are so many questions at this moment that nobody has answers to. Suffolk County Department of Health Services gets the mandates the same day that we do, and then when we start to ask questions, they don't have the answers. So we're waiting for these answers. However, we had a meeting today with administrative staff and the CTA leadership. We discussed what might happen if we were to move into a yellow zone. And I do have to thank the teachers and the administrative staff who are proactively letting kids know what it might look like. They did, in many cases, give the students the schedule that we had discussed when we reopened in our reopening plan in August. However, that plan that had a shortened day for the secondary campuses to 25 minutes of instruction each was really in the discussion of a deep closure where the entire community was shut down. If we're looking at the way the microclusters are supposed to work, we're looking that the governor wants to kind of nip it in the bud and get things reopened. So they're hoping that by shutting down a little bit and being more cautious, that the spread will slow down and that we can reopen in a much more quick fashion than we saw in the spring. So because of that, we are going to continue with the same schedule at the middle schools and the high school. If and when and if we get the call from the governor that says, you're in the yellow precautionary zone, we're going to continue the pattern that all of our secondary students are used to, except that they'll be home every day, logging in at the time that they would log in on the days that they're virtual. At the elementary, we are compressing the day slightly. We don't believe that sitting in front of the computer for 6 hours is appropriate for a 5-year-old. So we worked out just a slightly shortened day, and we will be giving that out to our parents and our families within the next day or so. We will also be giving out what the expectation is, and the expectation is that teachers will be teaching virtually, synchronously, every day, from pre-K through high school. So we will give you what that would look like in an email update. Maybe I'll ask Mr. Middleman to take his 350 takes and get a message out to you folks that way. But I think it's really just important that as a community, we're prepared. That's why I came out with the data, so that we could know what's potentially on the horizon. I'm hoping, because Nassau County actually eased up a little today. Suffolk County didn't seem to, but Nassau County certainly did. I'm hoping that it passes us by, but I really felt it was important for the community to know to be prepared.
Thank you, Dr. Adams.
So that what happens on the 30th?
Now it's our turn.
Oh, on the 30th.
Can I go?
Wait 1 second.
So on the 30th, and I'm going to ask Mr. Middleman to jump in whenever he would like. We discussed with the board about a month ago that we would like to do a full virtual day from home in case there was a deep closure. So that what we would still do that while we were able to come back into school, so that we could help make any suggestions and changes happen in order to make it a much better situation for both our teachers and our parents. On November 30th, if we are still out of the yellow, and let's hope and pray that's the case, we will have a full virtual day and all of our teachers will be teaching from their homes, so that we can determine how we can help make that situation better for them. They can also determine what are the kind of things that they would want to bring home with them in order to make the situation better for our students in a more engaging situation. So it will be the schedule that we put out within the next 2 days. Your child will log on. If they were in the middle school or the high school, it's the same thing that they do on their virtual day, their hybrid days. They would just do it from home. The teachers will do it from home that day as well. And the elementaries will do that same abbreviated schedule. And we're hoping at the end of that to be able to say, put out to our parents, what are some of the things that we can do better? What are some of the things that that we can help you with in your home? I know Mr. Middleman sent out an email last week saying that if you are reaching out, if you are in need of a device, please reach out to the principal of your building, and we will get you on the wait list. The board approved the purchase of the 350 Chromebooks that we were able to get on an emergency purchase order, and so we have some that will be ready for handout. So if you need one and you don't have that at your home, please let us know. If you do not need one and you have something that your family could use, let's let the people who really need it have the device.
Linda, and I just want to add that we did also discuss about the parental concerns, the emails that we got about some parents were not happy with the day because when you work the day before or the day after the holiday, some jobs require that you do that in order to get paid. Childcare is an issue. I know you're opening up scope, but that's at a cost of, I think it was $150.
Yeah, I think it's way too high.
So we did let the superintendent know your concerns. We did get those emails. The date is not picked by the board. It is in, Linda, I believe the word you used was wheelhouse. I like that word, so I'm going to steal it. It is in the superintendent's wheelhouse. And we're all hopeful that it will go quite well.
Can I talk?
Well, now we have, Board of Education, and there's 2 items on the agenda there. Upcoming events for various schools. Did you put that on? Okay. And then the full-time in-person instruction for small class sizes. So
There's a
yes, go
couple of
ahead.
things I'm added though, too. I'm gonna be not so fast, but
Well, you have to be a little faster.
I'll be fast, I'll be
On the
fast.
agenda, so
All right,
it
well,
should've been on the
well, I
agenda.
want to thank.
Okay.
First, I want to tell you that we went, me and Mark, saw each other at the Veterans Day Drive-In movie for RMS. They did an exceptional job. The students, the staff, the teachers. Thank you to Mr. Locato and Mr. Wrinkle. They did amazing, amazing job. Thank you to the other schools that also recognized veterans on Veterans Day. It was done very nicely. I know we had the high school and we had Cherokee that I saw that both of theirs. But I have to say the drive-in movie was exceptional. Okay, me and Mark really, we enjoyed it. He was there with his family, I was there with mine. A lot of people there, but very nicely done in the car, came through the radio. Really a nice thing. So thank you very much, whoever was involved in that. The second thing, I heard was that that people were still waiting for introduction to National Honor Society. And that's from September. Do we know what's going on with that? Okay, absolutely, okay. The other,
While you're just talking about clubs, we also got an email way back when about a special education club. Does anybody remember what I'm talking about?
yeah, that they had said that we make sure that one, we should have, that should have been
Yeah,
approved.
we didn't put
I
that
think it
one
was a
on.
life skills, it was a life
It
skills.
was life skills one. Do you know what I'm talking about, Reza?
Best buddies.
That's
Is
it.
that what it is?
Yes, yes.
Okay. Can we make sure we include that?
I will send in a message out to the principals tomorrow.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Now, the 2 things that are on here, I actually put on for discussion through some emails to you guys. One was that I wanted to make sure that there were upcoming events for students in school, because just as much as curriculum is important, it is also important to have a well-rounded child that has all the fun and all the things that we can do. And I'm glad that the high school students gave us some insight, but I'd like to hear about that from all. And I think, Linda, I had asked you for something from each of the schools. You have it? Okay. That's something I think is good for us to maybe put on for next month so that we can talk about it a little bit and let everybody know these are some of the upcoming things that the kids can look forward to. Just highlight some of the events for the elementary. I understand this may not be the best time for it with everything that's going on, but hopefully, I'm hopeful in the event of anything, we're right back to school sooner rather than later. The other thing was that I was pushing for full-time instruction and in person for small class sizes. If you're with small classes, I've been emailing like crazy and telling you from day one, I'm 100% behind kids that have special needs, kids that are in small classes. There should be no reason why we don't have them. They're at risk to fall behind more so than the kids that are in general ed.
So Dr. Hansi Diamantis is working with the principals of all our buildings to make that happen. Of the middle school and high
Awesome,
school.
great news. I'm glad to hear it. And I'm pretty sure that the parents whose children are struggling with the hybrid will be very happy to hear that. The other thing I want to ask, and I didn't put this on, but it was something that I was supposed to ask, was there were T-shirts that were being made for the senior class. And Mr. Moran, I think maybe stepped down. Okay, there was T-shirts that were being made, 2021 senior, last ride 21. They were put on Twitter. They were, I thought, approved by you, Dr. Adams and Mr. Moran. And then all of a sudden I heard that they got pulled. No, but it was put on Twitter. Wasn't it put on Twitter? But from him though. I thought it was, no, I'm pretty sure it was done. Mr. Moran, could you?
Can you come up here for a moment? Oh.
That's all right.
Don, can we get a security mask for him?
I'm just curious to know what happened because I know. No, I understand that, but unfortunately, once we start getting involved with, when administration shares it and then it becomes something that there's like 300 orders, and then all of a sudden it gets axed and nobody knows why, I want to hear what the reasoning was because it was something nice for the seniors. And that's another thing. Do we have a list of what we're doing for the seniors? I heard from the kids, I understand that, but I'm saying I had requested an actual report from each building on what they had planned. Oh, you have, so that's what I'm saying. So we have upcoming events for them, because that's really right now we were last year with the seniors and they had the trip, they had a lot of things. Now these senior class has like next to nothing.
Yeah.
There are possible things, and I understand that, but I'm saying dependent on what goes on, but I'm saying there's no trip in that. Okay, there were T-shirts that were ordered, I want to say there was at least 300, for 2021 senior class shirts. They said last ride with the 2 and a 1. I know that you had shared it on Twitter.
Right.
Is there a reason why they got axed?
They got asked from what?
They were told that they weren't gonna get approval. I said never even came past us to get approval.
Those were not from the student government, and that's how they raise their money. So someone had asked me to put it in the Google Classroom. I checked with Mr. and Mrs. Piscatelli, and that's really how they make their money. So they're designing their own shirt. But I said I would put it on Twitter for, to help them sell the shirts. But I wasn't going to put it in the Google Classroom because then kids think those are the official 12th grade shirts, and then they can't sell their own shirts. And then it becomes what's school sanctioned and what is being sold.
All right, so the parents involved in this are still allowed to sell the
Of
shirts
course.
though. They can sell them, it's just that they're not gonna be school sanctioned
Right.
there, but they can still sell them.
Of course. I know
All
it
right,
was on
I just wanted to
Facebook.
make sure that was clear,
Yeah,
okay.
and I put it on Twitter for them as well to help with the sales, but
Yeah,
the
no, I
ones
think
for
it's-
the senior class, those were the ones.
My understanding was that anything that was raised from it was gonna go right back to the seniors, so
That they spoke to the student government advised what was going to happen with the money. So there were other shirts that were made with the island on it. I forget what the company made it, but they donated like $4,000 to the 3 classes. They gave this freshman class the most, and that was put out, on the school site because that money was going right back. I don't know the other class where the money was going, but that's what.
I just wanna make sure that if somebody ordered, that they'll be able to still get those, that was my.
Yeah, those shirts, yes, those were being sold, I know on Facebook
Okay.
and, all right. That's it?
Thank
All
you,
right,
yes,
no
yes.
problem.
That's it for you, Jackie?
Yeah, and you have that, you said that you have it for me. Oh, okay.
Yeah, because we all would like to see that.
Well, I wanted it in hard copy, I thought that they were
Yeah.
gonna have it today.
Yeah. Well, so did I. All right, can you get us a hard copy, Jesse? Okay. Last up is public comment. This section of the agenda gives the Board of Education an opportunity.
Wait, I wanted to make a comment. Is it too late?
Oh, no, go ahead.
So I was looking over the club list that was provided to us. I just want to reiterate what somebody had said, and just a reminder that, some people felt that the clubs that were approved were sort of inclusive and it didn't, meet the needs of all children. So I was a little, upset that the club portion was tabled today. But I do have a question in regard to that section, which is clubs that did, furnish, an interest in continuing the clubs. Are they still providing the same amount of time, according to their charter? I know their charters, they have this, I'm just gonna make an example, Big Only Club. Okay, in their charter, they said they're gonna meet twice a week. Obviously, that's pre-COVID. Are those charters are still going to continue with the same setup of times of meeting with children? You have an answer to that, Linda?
So the information that we had from the advisors who applied to be a club virtually was sent to the board a few weeks ago. Would you like one of us to go through all of their charters and match whether or not what they've applied for pre-COVID is the same as what they're doing?
Yes, because, say for example, the Bailey Club got paid $5,000, because according to their charter, they were meeting twice a week, meeting with X amount of children.
It's gotta go in.
Is it after COVID, are they meeting less, are they still gonna be paid the same monetary amount? Like, how is that all being, worked on?
So that is the salaries are aligned in the collective bargaining agreement with the Teachers Association. So if the board wants to match the charter against the application and potentially provide a different salary, that would be a negotiation.
I just want to make sure that the paperwork that was submitted to the board of interest for continuing the clubs are mirroring the charter, with respect to obviously being a virtual model. I know there was some discussion that maybe the smaller clubs, that meet maybe 5 or 6 kids, can maybe be in person. I've had the conversations been had.
Mylene, I did put that on the agenda for next month's executive session, because we are talking about salaries and negotiations and potential personnel. So it is on the agenda for the next executive session, if you want to write down any questions and hold them till then, because nothing will be decided tonight.
I just want to make sure the commitment mirrors the charter.
No,
My
get you.
my second question is, Linda, you spoke about the yellow zone potentially, doing random, COVID testing. I know my daughter were in New York City. My grandson was randomly tested and she was randomly tested. The test that they administered was not the deep nasal, test. It was more of a swab, by the entry of the nose. What type of tests are you considering if this is something that we may have to consider in the near future?
We can't test, I thought.
So we can't actually, as a school system, test. We would have to apply to be a limited lab. And then if we were to do that, we would have to either bring on staff, a physician's assistant, or someone along those lines who had the training, or we would have to provide the training for our own internal nurses to be able to perform the tests. If we became a limited services lab, we would be beholden to New York State, because they would provide us with whatever test they wanted to provide us with. I don't know of many school districts around us that are seeking to become a licensed limited service lab. There seems to be a lot of questions surrounding that. So it would not be our choice which tests were given to us. I know New York City schools, the DOE actually has charters in many of their schools, because they do have clinics. So that's not a traditional thing that happens in Long Island schools. So if we were to, and as I said, we're trying to find out the information to the questions that I put together before, that were discussed with the administrative staff, whether or not we have to test 20% of each population or 20% of the total amount of people. That right now would be, they would have to go to either their own physician or one of the walk-in clinics, or the Suffolk County Department of Health clinic to be tested, and then they would bring the results to us right now. But there's a lot of questions as to what that actually looks like. But the DOE has a different setup than school districts out on Long Island.
So, and again, this is all hypothetical at this point. We don't know where we're going from today to tomorrow. But if we are forced into that particular situation, why would we put the stress on our parents, our staff, to now have to go try to find a close health staff to try to administer these tests? Wouldn't it be in the best interest to have these things readily available and not have a little more control of the situation and alleviate some stress?
I would be totally against, Mylin, I would be 100% against I would be 100% against us thinking that we should be testing people's children without their parents there. Absolutely not.
I never said without permission, the permission has to be granted. But if 20% of the population has to be tested with the child or the staff member's permission of the parent, obviously the parent with the child,
I'd be 100%
you need
against.
to walk into the nurse's office and get the swab. I'm not saying without permission, I would never.
No, but it's not even without permission. What I'm saying to you is, for instance, if you take a child that has special needs or a child that doesn't, that may not have an IEP or may not be in small class sizes, but a child that just has serious anxiety. Now you take that child and you're gonna try to swab their nose, swab their mouth, do whatever. I don't know about anybody else, but trying to get my son at a regular pediatrician to lay down and do a throat culture is unbelievable how many adult people it takes for a little guy to hold him down. So I'm just saying that I think we're going into uncharted territory in thinking that we should become a school that does that. While I think it's great if it helps parents, how many of those parents, and you would have to send out something for all parents to actually gauge how many parents who have school-age children would be okay with this? Because I, for one, would 100% be against it. 100% against it.
All right, so my grandson was swabbed. And I asked, what type of swab? Was it the one that goes deep into the nasal cavity, or is it one that just swabs by the entrance of the nose? It was not the deep nasal cavity, and they only swabbed by the entrance of the nose.
Right, but what you're not understanding is what Linda's saying is,
It was less invasive.
yes, and I understand that, but you're,
I asked my daughter, I said, how did she feel about her son being tested? Her son also has applied, he has special needs, my grandson. So he's got sensory issues, he's got, sensory things going on. So she said to him when he came home, how was it? And all he came back with, oh, mommy, the nurse cleaned my nose today. So he was not bothered by it. Again, this is shock and sensory issues.
but we can't determine,
I'm not saying that we have to do it, but if it makes it easier for working parents that if our nurses on staff can administer this test with the right protocols and whatever's necessary to do it.
but Mylene, you're not understanding. Our district would have to get certified. Our district would have to get certified. It wouldn't happen overnight. And me and Linda had this discussion. Our district would have to get certified. I deal with this because where I work, our district would have to get certified. And in order to get certified, you have to bring in medical personnel. You would have to pay more salaries. You would have to bring in somebody like a nurse practitioner. You're not bringing in just right now. This wouldn't happen overnight. I'm telling you from experience that we can't even get the tests. You can't even get those tests in large quantities from the government unless you're approved and you get certified. So the police departments aren't getting them. So that's why I'm saying to you, I'm telling you for schools, they're not going to certify us overnight. They're not going to certify us without either a doctor or a nurse practitioner on staff. So now you're paying for that person. And let's be honest here. If it gets to that, you're going to have more parents pulling their kids for virtual and pulling their kids to go to maybe even for, what's the other one? It's not the virtual. I always talk about homeschooling, because that's where it's geared. More parents are going to say, I'd rather homeschool my kid, or I'd rather have my kid on full virtual than have my 7th, 8th grade, 9th grader going every other day. And I got to worry about if every other day my kid gets the lucky lottery number and has to get swabbed. And we don't know if it's going to be what your grandson had. Because like Linda said, they determine, the government determines, they determine which test they send to us. If they send the evasive one, that's what your kid's getting. And I'm telling you, so you know, I'm not okay with that. I'm not okay with that for anybody's children without their parent next to them. That is my opinion, but that is where I would stand 100%.
The reason why I was saying about maybe providing an option, I definitely see both sides of this. But if COMAC has to do this, and Sachem has to do this, and Sable has to do this. You know, you only have limited, stat health places that are gonna do these tests. So, you know, if we can give the convenience of a parent having the option to either go to stat health or maybe go to our school, and you're not waiting around the lot to have it tested. I mean, again, the rules do apply differently here in Suffolk County versus New York State. I know New York State, if you don't take the test, then I think you have to go to a virtual model. Again, I don't agree with that either. I'm just saying that if our surrounding districts are forced to do this, it was just offering something to look and be in for our parents, especially our working parents, who are now coming home at 6 o'clock and have to rush to find staff help to, test their child.
Well, Mylan, what are you gonna do with the kids that start having, like I said, emotional and anxiety? We have Miss Santos here. Let her speak. I'm sure that she could tell us, what are we looking at in the way of, I see both sides too. I feel for the working parent. I work full-time, and not for nothing, but regardless, how many parents, and that, like I said, you would have to gauge it by sending something out and a survey and find out, but how many parents would really be okay with their parent? Send the survey. I'll tell you right now, mine's gonna be a definite no for all of them.
If I may speak, may I respond? Yes, thank you. Yes, Ms. Mylin, Ms. Augulus, I understand both points, but there are a few things to consider. Your point in that all students may not be comfortable in this setting, as well as Mylin trying to offer a matter of convenience and of accessibility for the staff. I do understand both sides. But the one thing I'd like to speak to while we're in the midst of the pandemic is that we also can't negate the fact that there is a very high demand in the health office at this time for our school nurses to attend to the needs of the students and the various symptoms we're seeing on a day-to-day basis. In addition, across the district, we have 10 isolation rooms. We have one isolation room in each respective building. So right now we're overseeing 29 nurses. So there's a matter of availability, but the real issue is their primary job and their burden at this time, because there are not enough hours in the day for them to meet. They're doing their job well. Don't let me misrepresent. But we want them to stay in the health office to service the students and the staff and faculty at large to ensure that everyone is safe, that they report to us. They are reporting to PPS on a daily basis for any child that is referred to a healthcare provider, any child or staff member or teacher that had a test that is made known to them, and any child that's presenting with symptoms or goes to the isolation room, of which we must report to the state by 3 p.m. in the afternoon. So what is not seen behind the front line is all the intricacies in the data collection that keeps all districts in our district current. However, to explore other options so that we leave our health offices secure and stable for our schoolhouse and all respective staff and teachers within that schoolhouse, we have entertained, we're looking at preliminarily either another health official or another health agency, or a mobile unit that, if all on availability. So there is a way to bring it into the district potentially if it were approved and not use our nurses. Or the other point of view is, I do believe that since it is a pandemic and there is a measure of discomfort and hesitation and fear, if I may say, about being exposed to potential germs or other people who contacting and touching the materials, etc., it may be more advised to send families and students to their primary healthcare provider or local clinics. I understand what Mylin is saying about working parents, but if this is mandated by the county will ensure that the tests are available for the number of people within the community. So I think there's no perfect answer, but we want to ensure the safety of our schoolhouse, the availability and sole focus of our nurses on their primary duty, which has tripled because of the pandemic, because we're reporting on students, staff, and teachers,
and doing so in a timely fashion, and the reporting is tertiary. What's important is we address it immediately, we vacate the situation, and we move people into a quarantine or an isolation status when necessary. So I think it's doable, but I don't think we should have the health staff take on another responsibility, because it would take away from our schoolhouse.
So,
Thank you, Gail.
You're welcome.
Gail,
Yeah.
let me ask
Yes.
you a question, Gail.
Yes.
So say, if we lead into that, we have to do this 20%. How
Mhm.
is that 20% of the staff and students, how are they selected?
That was what Linda,
Yes.
Linda already addressed that. My Linda, we don't know yet. Those questions have not been answered by the government.
Okay, thank you. I thought maybe Gail might have one more answer on that. Thank you.
Okay. At this time, we're going to move into public comment. This section of the agenda gives the Board of Education an opportunity to recognize persons who wish to raise a question or to make a brief statement on matters including, but not limited to, agenda items. The time available will be limited to 3 minutes. You'll hear this tone when you're down to 30 seconds. For one or more topics, comments should be kept as brief as possible and relate to school matters. Anyone wishing to speak, we are asking you to adhere to the following guidelines. Step to the podium, address the board president. You may address one or more topics in the time allotted. Individual employees, parents, and children should not be identified by name, title, position, grade, or building. And we're ready. Anybody would like to speak at this time? Please make sure you keep 6 feet apart when you're up online.
Yeah, if you're gonna line up.
Yeah.
Hello.
Hi.
First, I wanted to say thank you for addressing right now the information about the testing and the 20%, because I will say that as a parent in the community who speaks to a lot of parents in the community, that really wasn't clear as to why if we go into a yellow zone, which the state website does say we could stay open with the 20% testing, why that wouldn't work here in the school district, in our school district. So until about 5 minutes ago, that was going to be one of my questions that I was going to ask. So I will suggest that I think a little bit more clarity and transparency should be sent out to parents as to exactly why, because the way I understood it, and a lot of other parents that I've spoken to have understood it previously, we had to close because we were yellow, which was different than what was written on the state website. But understanding now that the school district is not really in a place to do the testing, not only who do you test and all that stuff, but to do the testing in general is important information as to why we can't just continue to go forward. So I would, and the information that you just mentioned is also really good information. And I know, Jackie, that you are always talking about transparency, and that's transparency. Because as a parent who's sitting here wondering, I'm reading this on one website, I'm reading this on another website, why aren't I getting that information? That's important for me to feel comfortable moving forward.
We need to get that out there about the certified. The school's not certified.
Well,
Right,
can
and
actually
it's
direct them
important
to-
information to know, because as a parent, I'm questioning the board, I'm questioning the superintendent, I'm questioning the whole system as to why we're not able to move forward, because we're not given that information that is important information. Now that I know that, I have a different feeling than I did 10 minutes ago, So that was just a statement. I do have a question regarding the secondary school scheduling. Now, I understand that if we're in yellow, that we're going to stay with the same scheduling, but that if we were to go into a deep closure, which from what I've seen would fall more orange or red or whatever other color Cuomo decides to add to the list, then that would be more of a deep closure, right? Or closer to a deep closure. So my question is, why? I understand it was in the reopening plan. I did hear it when we did the reopening. What was the reasoning for shortening the periods for secondary students if we do go into a deep closure, if it happens now, if it never happens?
Lynn, do you want to answer that?
So, it's reflectively, as we look back at both the spring and then the summer planning, a lot of it is you're trying to create plans of a situation that you totally don't understand going forward. And I think us being able to come together with the CTA and have a discussion about, what things look like and how things are going to date, it gives us a little bit more of a better idea of the process, and that's why some of the decisions have been changed. The time originally when we thought about it, we anticipated a closure similar to what we had in the spring, whereas everybody shut down, everything shut down. Everybody's got their kids at home, and to try to make a system that worked so that teachers who had kids at home were able to still perform their jobs and their duties while also supporting their own kids. So there were a lot of factors in that we took into play there. As we moved into the school year, those ideas of closures changed to more maybe intermittent, or we saw that the barriers, the masks, and the social distancing that we put into place really helped in some of the investigations with the Suffolk County Department of Health, and limited the amount of things that we had to do with regards to quarantining or shutting down buildings in itself. So, I think it's about information, and I think it's a fluid situation, and it's something that we're trying to make sure that our community has the information that, what will happen going forward. But we're continually evaluating it and continually evaluating what the situation looks like and how the current environment is working.
Okay, well, I would hope that if we do enter a deeper shutdown, if we go into orange or if we go into red, that you would reevaluate the 25-minute slots. While I understand the teachers are home with the children, us parents are also home with children. Someone's got to stay home eventually if you've got all the kids home. They're already missing so much in the secondary level, just going to school every other day. And then to cut the time even shorter. And then on top of that, make those of us who are working from home, not as teachers, but as other things, have less time to occupy our kids while we're trying to juggle our jobs and everything else at the same time. Now from home, which is more difficult depending on what job you have as well. It's just, I think it's something that really needs to be further evaluated beyond yellow and into, because this
And
yellow
that's-
might turn into red
Yeah.
or, by Christmas. So
I'm knocking on wood, but that is definitely something that we're going to do. As we go forward, we're going to constantly evaluate the time and to see if adjustments need to be made. The other piece that I neglected to mention was that, a lot of what we did was based on the feedback that we received from the community with those surveys and with the community groups that we had held, those forums, because that was one of the pieces of how can we ask students to sit in front of a computer screen for this amount of time. And we were trying to be cognizant of that as well. So we are definitely going to reevaluate it as we go along and, continue to make adjustments where needed.
thank you.
Further to that, there are teachers from OBMS and from the high school today who did send out that shortened period schedule. So you may want to clarify that with them, even for the November 30th date, if they think that that's the schedule they're going to follow, and it's not. But also I wanted to ask about the yellow zone closure, because there were also teachers from OBMS from the high school who were telling students, yeah, by the way, Thursday is your last day of in-person instruction. As of Friday, you're going virtual. What is the time frame from when we're told we're going to have to go virtual to actually going virtual? Will it be like an overnight decision, or will we have time to prepare? Because I have a high schooler, and he still needs somebody at home, like hovering over him, making sure he's in classes, not playing Xbox. So I need to make sure that I can have that support for him at home.
Thank you. I sent out an email earlier clarifying that I truly appreciate the administrators and the teachers who are trying to be proactive and get ahead of it. And that's one of the reasons why we sent out the emails to say, folks, we're trying to get ahead of this. We want you to be aware of where we see ourselves going. So they were being proactive, and I did send out an email district-wide to all stakeholders saying that's not going to be the case, not on November 30th, and not if we go into yellow. And I thank you for saying that earlier. We are definitely not going to automatically move to 25 minutes if we go orange or red. Right now, we want to keep the schedule as it is. Our kids are used to getting up at that specific time, logging on with all their teachers. We don't want to interrupt that pattern and routine that we've established 6 to 12. Because if it's a 2-week closure, we want to be back in. We want to keep that routine moving. So those are two pieces. But I don't know how much time Governor Cuomo will give us. I wish I could give you a good answer. I don't know if he's going to come, if it continues to roll this way, if on the 19th he says we've just established 20 more yellow zones and it's here, 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 and here, and here. And as of now, you've got to do what yellow zone has to do. I wish I could give you a better answer to that. But I don't know if he'll say starting tomorrow, or sometimes he says these start on Friday, or, I wish I could give you a better answer, but I don't know that answer.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Hi. I'm back. I just want to start with a positive. Thank you for including the clubs for the high school. I think that was important. The honor societies, I'm so happy about. The senior things that are going on, the breakfast, I know that's a really good effort. I was at home. I was actually running and listening to the meeting, and I decided that I had to come up because a principal is a necessary thing during a closure. And I'll tell you why. I'm an educator, and when we had our closure, it was like we had 3 little parents kind of helping us get through it. I know the principal that we're talking about. He's been, well, I shouldn't really say, I know we're not allowed to really specify. This person was wonderful during the closure for all the parents, responded to all of our emails, was very reassuring. I know that like an interim isn't the same as that. They're going to have to get somebody though, because if there is a closure, there can't just be a free-for-all. The teachers need the support of virtual. I do virtual right now and I do in person. I need my principal there just to even say, oh my gosh, I wonder if the parents saw the word bubble over my head that was like a bunch of curse words because I couldn't get something to work right now. But teachers need that, the parents need that. So an interim, yeah, it's not the greatest thing right now, but we need something. I feel that the teachers need something, the parents need something. With this particular principal missing, it's like we've lost something. My kids are in 5th grade, and I'm very upset that this person's out. So again, I wish we can reconsider that because I will be emailing everyone tomorrow, I'm sure. Dr. Adams, you'll be getting that. No, but it was that if it was going to be closed, that there was going to be no one also. Full virtual, it's still necessary because just as an educator, we needed someone to be helping us to organize, to think and plan. That building's a very big building. They need somebody. The teachers need someone. They haven't had someone for a long time. And you know that I've been talking to you about it. I'm upset that this particular person is not there for the kids because honestly, my second point is that I am not happy about the 4th and 5th grade situation, that the kids are getting a half a day of a teacher instruction. I've been passionate about this since, this whole closure started. I'm sorry, I'm going to have to be fast here because I have a couple of things. But the kids need a full day of instruction. The 4th and 5th grade students need a full day of instruction. These kids lost since March on, and now they're getting a half day of school as far as I'm concerned. Yeah, they're trying hard. Let me tell you though, one of my kids, because I have twin 5th graders, of course, so we're getting hit, but half of his class is on an upper level and half is on a lower. I don't know how he's doing it because I'm doing it right now where half my day is in one part of the building and half is in another, and I'm exhausted and I'm in good shape too, I think. But for this poor teacher to have half of his class upstairs and half of it downstairs, and quite honestly, I was concerned about my other twin for a while, but now I'm going to get on this one because I just found out about the situation because no one's really saying anything. That's a problem to me. Okay, anyway. So that was another thing. I'm just going to keep on about the 4th and 5th grade because there's no plan in place for these kids to get the full day education. There's nothing. I've written to you, Mr. Middleton, several times about this. I'm not happy. The kids there needs to be some kind of plan, an end date of when these kids can get a full day of their teacher instruction. The full virtual day on the 30th, well, like I think that Ms. Panico brought up, this is impossible for working teacher parents because or many parents, because we have to go to work in other districts or we get penalized for not going in. Okay, so that date was, as far as I'm concerned, and a lot of people, my peer group, was a terrible choice of date because I'm going to be leaving home 2 5th grade students that are going to be going to do virtual their first time because they really didn't do it, in March, with my daughter that's a senior. So God bless her that day because she's going to have to get 2 kids on, different teachers for 5th grade and herself. It's not going to happen, but I'm going to leave and say good luck. I appreciate the clarification of the shortened class times because, like we all said, we got these notifications that they're shortened and it doesn't make sense to the parents. So I'm glad that that was clarified. The schedule for the elementary school students, we need that ASAP. I need to know when my kids are going to be going on so I can tell my daughter, who's a senior, this kid needs to go on here, this one needs to go on here, because I'm not going to be there. I have to go to work that day. I'll wrap it up. And then the problem with this district is that we have too many interim people. We need to get people that will be invested into this district, that will have passion about our students, that will be there for the long term. I've advocated for Mr. Moran. He's an acting principal, so right? We need to have people that are here, that are going to be here all the time supporting our kids. I know I can't mention someone by name right now, but she's been there for my daughter's CSE meetings. She's great. I can count on her, but next year I don't know who's going to be there. And we have an interim special ed director right now. We need to get people that are here, that are going to be here for our kids full time, for the future, not these interims. Because I do agree with you. We don't need an interim principal right now. We need somebody that's going to be there for the parents, the kids, everything. Because that building, sadly, if there is going to be, and there's going to be no one, if it's full virtual, it's going to fall apart. That person that was in charge of that building, the principal, he's amazing. We miss him terribly. He's been great. I mean, he's held my hand through my twins with everything. So I miss him terribly because we had a very good relationship talking. How's this going? How's that going? He knows my twins. He knew my twins had to be in separate classes. And now we don't, now it's no one. We need somebody there. So that's why I came tonight. But anyway. All right.
Guys looking into the 4th and 5th grade. I thought we were gonna do live streaming. Thought this was gonna happen, then nothing happened. Are we doing live streaming from one classroom to the other? We got any other ideas for the 4th and 5th grade? Because I'm hearing that a lot. And I've heard it, and I'm part of it, actually. It's not the best. And I feel sorry for those teachers because I don't understand something. If you're a 3rd grade teacher or a 2nd grade teacher, do you only have 12 or 13 kids? But now you're a 4th or 5th grade teacher and you got 24 or 22 or something like that, right? But I'm saying you technically have, if I could pick my grade, I certainly wouldn't pick 4th or 5th this year if I was a teacher. I understand this, Lee, but I'm just saying hypothetically. That aren't they doing, if you think about small class sizes, I'm just trying to understand.
Why did we do that with the 4th and 5th grade? Why didn't we do it like the rest of them?
Because there's none.
So we would have to hire, I think, about 19 teachers in order to.
How many did we already hire? We already hired like 100.
To
So,
successfully staff the 4th and 5th grade.
so we just stopped it. We just arbitrarily stopped it. I want to know why we stopped at 4th and 5th grade when we hired all these other teachers. And then we even have on tonight because of COVID. We hired more people. So the board didn't say, no, you can't hire teachers for the kids. Why did we just stop at the 4th and 5th?
Where would we put them? We have a section in the building?
We have virtual teachers now that are teaching from their homes.
You have to have enough classrooms because the 4th and 5th grade are in 2 different classrooms. So that's a moot point, another one, because
Yeah,
4th and 5th grade right now.
They're already
are
split up, right?
But they're in the school building and they're in 2 different classrooms, correct?
Yeah, so that's.
I mean, I have a
mean,
5th grader,
that's-
so I already know the answer, but I just want to hear it from.
That,
This is the board now has to discuss this. We can't hear from the audience right now. Public comment is over, I'm sorry.
trying to find out. If you have the classroom.
so the classes are not in individual classrooms in every building. In fact, in the building in question that we're talking about, the interim that we put in place, there are 3 classes located in the library. So when we first looked at this, and we were very deliberate with what age group that was, we were one of the few districts around us at that point who wanted every kid here K through 5 if we could. And we said, there are districts who 4th and 5th graders are hybrid. There are districts, kindergartens are hybrid, where one day they're in school, one day they're not in school. That doesn't fly in Connecticut under my watch. K through 3 are the grades that are the least independent learners. We felt, and it was a discussion with the administrative staff, that K through 3 are the grades that if we lose those children and they cannot read, the rest of their entire education is going to suffer. So we made a very big push to make sure that K through 3, who are still in the learning to read phase, 3rd grade is about where learning to read becomes reading to learn. We knew that those kids who are in 3rd grade this year were in 2nd grade last year, and from March to June did not get the deep push in literacy that they would have if they had been in our schoolhouse. So we made a very deliberate decision to ensure that K through 3 had a teacher every day, all day. We asked the board to expand our teaching staff. We took some of our reading teachers and put them back in the classrooms. We took some of our math specialists. We took our computer science and engineering teachers and put them back in the classrooms so that we can ensure that K through 3 had classes with teachers every day. Originally, we thought that 4th and 5th grade might actually have to be virtual. And I didn't think that was appropriate because I know 4th and 5th graders cannot be left home unsupervised. So we had another discussion with our administrators and said, how do we make this work and not hire $2.5 million more worth teachers? At that point, we weren't sure that there were going to be 2 buildings that we would be able to have all our classes separate in. It turns out that there's only 1 building where we could not have our classes in different classrooms every single day. We looked at how independent learners in 4th and 5th grade work. So as a teacher, you give a mini lesson, you ask kids to work on some things, you walk around the room, you help them, you bring them into small groups, you group them by ability, you take them and you do more individualized instruction. You're not working in a full group all day long. So we asked our elementary principals to try to figure out if we could have a way where the children could be separated, have a TA for the periods of time when they were working independently on work that the teacher had taught them the lesson of. That way we could have our kids in the schoolhouse every day, see their teacher every day. We made a push to look at and limit our curriculum to do the high leverage topics in math and English language arts. And we've done an additional push to look at the high leverage topics in social studies and science. Our kids are in K through 5 every single day, getting instruction from Connecticut teachers every single day. They work hand in hand, whether they're 4th and 5th grade, hand in hand with a teaching assistant to make sure that the work that the kids are doing or working on is the thing that the teachers have presented, given the mini lesson on, And then the work that's more independent is done under the supervision of the teaching assistant. Is it ideal? No. It's also not ideal to have sixth graders not in the building every day, or seventh graders, or eighth graders, or any other. It's not ideal. But I want you to look around the room, and I want you to look at the desks that have been taken out of our school system. I want you to look at everybody sitting here in a mask. We're in the middle of a pandemic. And I have to tell you, we work tirelessly to make sure that our kids have everything that they might need to do well in this school system and moving forward. Do I think they're getting everything they would have gotten if we were operating in a normal year? Not a shot. It's not even possible. But I can't sit week after week, day after day, and take the blame of a pandemic. Because what we have put in place in Connecticut, we did not take away fine arts. We did not take away music. We did not take away technology. We did not take away business. We did not take away electives. If you look at the course of offerings that we have given our children K through 12, 2 years old through 12, in this school system, it's still as close to great as we could possibly make it. Go straight north to Comac. They got rid of all of their electives. Go over to Sachem. They eliminated their electives. We did not eliminate anything from our children. We kept this school system as intact as possible. And to say that we're not doing a good job because the computers didn't come in, because we did the right thing and tried to get the funding through smart schools, it's actually one of those things that I am, it comes to a period of time where we have worked so tirelessly to put this in place to keep our kids moving forward. Are they going to move forward the way they would have moved forward if we were here without a pandemic? No. But there's not one school system on Long Island that I will not put myself up against and say, we did a damn good job with our reopening plan. Our teachers stepped to the plate and they're working hard to make sure our kids are doing well. Our administrative staff worked tirelessly all summer long to have this happen. And to say, oh, you didn't get your Chromebooks fast enough? I'm sorry. Plastic is actually not being produced in the amount of time that it usually is. There is a worldwide pandemic. I do not believe that we are not working hard to do right by kids, because we are working hard to do right by kids every single day. School systems around us who opened with different permutations in their reopening plan are moving to our model. Do you want to know why? Because it's working as best as it can. Do I think a kindergartner who was in the school year in 18-19 would see the same results that a kid is in this year? No, I don't. Except that they're in smaller groups right now, so we can actually take individualize their instruction better than we've ever been able to do that. And they're here every single day getting instructed by Connecticut teachers, as is K through 5. I am not going to sit here again and take the punishment of a pandemic, because I can't make it any better than I've made it. The board wants to take another $2.5 million and hire more teachers when kids are doing independent work when they're with their TAs. Are they going to get the same level of growth that we've seen over time? I don't know. I think some of them will. I think some of them will even do better because we have smaller class sizes and they will move forward even better than they used to. But we're in a
The board
pandemic.
didn't necessarily say that.
No,
What I asked for, hold on a second, what I asked for was your reasoning, so
That
that it
was
wasn't an
everything.
arbitrary decision. I needed to know your reasoning.
Well,
do we still have Mylene
we
here?
never do anything arbitrarily. This is my.
Well, that's why I asked you, and so I appreciate your response.
Thank you.
Mylene, are you still here? Okay, because Lee is leaving, so we need a third person,
No.
otherwise we have to end the meeting.
Not for nothing, but I think stating that the 4th and 5th grade teachers are working extremely hard, harder than they probably ever have, and it is unfair to them. It is unfair to them. And when I state that if I got to choose what grade I wanted to teach, I would be choosing obviously the one that I only get 10 or 12 kids in my class, or 6 kids in my class. I certainly wouldn't choose running back and forth between 2 classrooms with 10 and 12 people. And it's easy for all of us to sit here tonight and say that it's no big deal because we're not the ones doing it.
Right.
But you know, if I had to run back and forth in two different classes, and I'm thinking about it, and I had to say the same thing twice and mirror my lessons, I don't think I'd be a happy person. And yet I see these teachers and they're doing wonderful things. You know, I know, because I have a fifth grader, okay, doing wonderful things. Thank you to them for stepping up. Thank you. But we don't have a right sitting behind this table tonight to judge that they have it the hardest, in my opinion. In my opinion, they do. Because they got 2 classes for the price of 1, when everybody else got 1. Okay?
And everyone's
Unless you're in
feeling-
secondary, it's different. Secondary, obviously, you have your rotating classes, but I'm talking about elementary. So we have to at least acknowledge that when somebody in the audience says something, or when parents are upset about it, they're not wrong necessarily. They're not wrong because, and it's not taking a pot shot at an administrator, that we just don't agree. I just don't agree. I don't think the 4th and 5th grade plan is a good plan. I
No
don't
one said
blame
that
that
the
on the
administration
teaching
wasn't working
staff.
hard. No
No.
one said the teachers weren't working
And
hard.
I don't blame,
So
no,
if people get insulted over that,
The
you know, you
teachers
have to get
have
over that
stepped up.
because this is a pandemic. Everyone is working
yeah,
hard.
but you gotta give credit where credit's due.
Absolutely.
The 4th and 5th grade teachers have stepped it up, and adding an assistant in the classroom, or adding someone who has a teaching certification, or whatever the case is, God bless, that's wonderful. But it's not the same as that we have a teacher that's got to run back and forth and teach a mirror image of the same thing they just taught. They got to like say one thing and then run to the other classroom later on, say the same thing.
There's got to be a better way for them.
That is harder, and it's harder with our children that are 4th and 5th graders at 8 to 10 years old, 9 to 11 years old, and try to figure out just because they maybe had learned to read better or had longer time to read, doesn't necessarily mean we don't have children that have reading issues. There are 4th and 5th graders that are falling behind because their reading is just as important.
And our reading teachers are now being used as subs. All right, at this time though, I'm going to make a motion to adjourn the meeting. I need a second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Good night, everyone. Thank you for coming down.
Thank you, Mylene.
Stay
for
warm. It's
filming.
really cold out tonight. Thanks, Mylene.
There's no executive session, right?
No, we're done, babe.
Thank you.
All right, bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Michelle?